my defining moment was trust with her, being away from months, days, weeks. So knowing that she was able to take care of my family, take care of the house, that was it. Well, she gonna tell it different. I'm gonna tell you that off the top. We met in the Marine Corps. It was one family day. My family came down, and she was on me.
He wanted my body. He gonna tell a different story though. What really happened was I joined the Marine Corps first, so I had the unit first. He was a junior Marine, not in my line of command.
So she say that she was just being friendly, showing me around. However, I noticed it. My uncle noticed it, that she was just around my family in general. So from that day, I invited her to work out with me, and it's all history now. The rest is history.
And I sent out a text one day to all my Marines, and I said, look, here's my number. I got a new phone because I was a squad leader, and he was the only one who wrote back, where your man at? And it's kind of history from there. I didn't do anything in my mind to make the first move, but the story he tells is that I followed him around like a little lost puppy when we had a family day exercise, when in reality I was showing a junior Marine and his family around the base. So,
and that was taken as you
wanted his body.
Who came on to who first? I did. I came on to her, and she accepted. The funny story, it's all a funny story. So the way that I came on was, in the Marine Corps, you send out a text when your numbers change. She claims that she sent it to everybody. However, I was the only person that got it. So I told her, when she texted me, she was like, hey, this is Worsham, this is my new number. I replied, where you man at? I didn't know, whatever situation she was going through. I didn't know if she had a man or not. So that was my reply back. And that's how I initiated the talk.
I was a late bloomer, Marine Corps wise. I joined at the age of 26. I was married with 2 children at the time. Not to Manny. Manny wasn't even thought about at that point. So by the time he and I met, I was separated from my first husband. I had 2 daughters, and a relationship was the last thing that I wanted. I didn't want any parts of it. I didn't want to be married to him or anybody else. I didn't want any more children. I was done. And then I met him, and he changed all that.
So that trigger, that from relationship to engage, was basically her trust. Like during the relationship phase, I had trust issues. Not to say that I didn't trust her. It's just my mama always told me, don't trust nobody. My life is always on the move. So the time we was dating was a lot of military time. So it was a month that I was away from home. With my work, I'm away traveling either overnight or just away from hours. And a lot of times she can't get in contact with me. So she can't get in contact with me, I can't get in contact with her. So who knows what is going on between either one of us. So it takes a big amount of trust for that.
The first thing that he did was that he dated all of us. He dated me, he dated my daughter Sydney, he dated my daughter Avery. He dated us as a whole. So we didn't go anywhere that they couldn't go. We went to carnivals and movies and kiddie parks, and it was never you gotta bring your kids. It's what are we gonna do today? And that was major for me because I'm a package. So where I go, they go. And I never had to say that. That, and he's always been very mature for his age. Just to look at a woman, mind you, he was 19 and I was 28 at the time, who has 2 kids, who's going through a divorce, and it was an acrimonious divorce, to put it lightly. And to take all that on, to want to take all that on, it takes a level of maturity that most people don't have, even at the age that I am now.
So what makes me bubble on the inside is just our joy for each other. Like we spend up at nights just laughing. Now that don't have to be nothing on the phone, nothing on the TV, just laughing at each other. Like I don't even have a TV in my room, so it's just laughing at each other. So just that joy between us. I mean, not every night is a funny ha night. Sometimes things get serious. You know, it's a marriage, it's a relationship. So, but for 80% of the time, I say just the joy of us being in the same room together, and that's something hard. Some people you can't find that just walking or talking down the street or working with an individual to one be in the same room, but actually living with that person and being able to still laugh. That's a big thing.
My husband proposed to me by taking me to dinner at the Capitol Grill downtown on Pratt Street. Spent like $400 on a dinner. It was a day after our anniversary, which was also a couple days after Valentine's Day. And I had been kind of waiting for this proposal. So like my birthday went by in November, then Christmas went by, then New Year's went by, then Valentine's Day went by, then our anniversary went by. Now I'm pissed. Because I'm like, when are you gonna do this thing? Because it's now months. It's like, you're gonna ask or what? But I found out later that he didn't ask intentionally because he knew I was expecting it. So once I said, screw it, that's when he said, I'll ask. So he took me to this dinner. We were gonna exchange anniversary presents. And my present was a fossil watch that he had been eyeballing. It was pretty pricey. And his present to me was my engagement ring, and I ugly cried in front of everybody in that restaurant. I cried so hard the back of my head hurt. I had to go in the bathroom and get myself together. But we always joke that I have a long name because I have 4 names. I have 2 legal middle names in addition to my first and my last. So when he asked me, he said Kirsten Alexandria McCoy Stinson, used my maiden name, which I had not used in years. And he said, will you be my wife? And I was done. Like, y'all, you think?
After the engagement party, me and my groomsmen, we on our way home. One of my groomsmen fell. He was riding a motorcycle. He fell, got into an accident. We went out to help him. When I came out to help him, picked him up off the ground, the car stopped behind us. Somebody hit her. That car flew into me. And bam, now I'm laying down. I just been hit by a car, and who knows what else is going on around me.
My heart just couldn't stop because I didn't know. You hear somebody get hit by a car, I'm like, okay, how bad is the damage to the car? They're like, no, he got hit by the car. Like, hit by the car. And he's laid out screaming. And I'm just thinking, like, we finally getting ready to start our life together, and like, you really gonna do all this to get out of the wedding? You know, like, I'm cracking jokes to him and stuff. You know, but in my heart I was scared because I didn't want to lose him. And I remember him laying there, drugged up, hurt, bloody, scraped up, a mess. And he still had his button on that said groom, because we had buttons. I was, you know, like all Pinterest. And he said, no, we're gonna do it. We're gonna go through with everything. And we did the next day.
That first year is rough. And I'm gonna tell you, a lot of married couples will say the first year is rough. I didn't believe it at first, but that first year is rough. It's real rough. We was happy through the 6 years of being a boyfriend and girlfriend, but once we got married, things went downhill quick, to the point that we was ready to call it off. My second defining moment was I didn't want to be alone. I'm not gonna lie, like it's a cold world being alone, and it's not to say that I was selfish with it, but I spent this time. It's a relationship to marriage is an investment, so I invest my time to this woman for the last 6 years. The 7th year was a little rocky, and here it is. We was getting ready to waste that all away. We was gonna waste that time. We was gonna waste that enjoyment. We was gonna waste the money that we spent on each other just because we couldn't come to an agreement.
It was rough. It was rough. I realize now that part of that was because he was dealing with the after effects of the accident, because that accident ultimately ended his Marine Corps career. We didn't know that at the time, but he has injuries whereas he is a normal person, but a dysfunctional Marine. Because Marines are expected to be above and beyond the average civilian. So I think he was probably a lot bitter about that. I tried to be upbeat, I tried to be supportive, but there's some things you cannot do for somebody. I think that was one of the factors that led to a really, really rocky first year.
It was me, because she tried to keep us together in the beginning, but I was stubborn. I was like, no, I want out. But I had to come to my senses and be like, I want to stay in this. I want to make this work. I want my family to grow as a family and not just me being a supportive dad from down the street somewhere. So growing up, I didn't have that. It was just me and my mother. And then when my sister came along, it was me, my mother, my sister. I never had that family view. So I didn't want to take that away from my daughter at the time, because that's what she used to. She used to see mom and dad in the same house, in the same room, just doing things together. So we can put on that front, but once the papers was done, that front would have been over, and it would have hurt Linda too much.
And we went from having a strong relationship for 6 years to being on the brink of divorce within 9 months of being married. So by the time we celebrated, and I say that tongue in cheek, celebrated our first year anniversary, we were really on the verge of splitting up.
That's one thing that I was lacking, is learning how to be a father, be a better husband, be a better boyfriend at the time. So that stuff, only thing I can see is just the failures that happened to my mother with the guys that she was dating, and try to bounce my energy from what I learned from her to my relationships.
We were at a church date night because church was instrumental, I can't stress that enough, in getting us back on track. He was not religious before, but he is now, and that was of his own volition. That's not something I could have made him do. I went, and eventually he followed. But we were at a church date night, and we had little questionnaires filled out about you knew you loved this person when, you knew they loved you when, type of things. And his answer that surprised me, which I think you're talking about, is that I guess his second defining moment would have been when I had forgiven him for all of it, even though he hadn't asked for my forgiveness. I had forgiven him, out of love. And he said that was like a big thing for him. And just that admission alone was a big thing for me, because he knew he needed that.
What changed?
He did. I'm not sure why, because I fought tooth and nail for my marriage, but I can't do it alone. Nobody can. It has to be two people fighting at the same time for the same thing. The first defining moment was when you went to Africa.
Okay.
And I held it down like a boss. Because that's what I do. We silly. And you came back and everything was in order, and I wrote you every day, and we talked on the phone. I didn't do nothing I wasn't supposed to, and everything was good, and you said I was trustworthy. I said I could keep this one. I thought that's what your first moment was. Was that it?
That was it.
You thought it?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, see? Uh-huh.
So my second defining moment was, I told him I didn't want to be alone. Like, we invested all this time and effort over the last 6 to 7 years, and we was going to just throw it away in a span of some months. So that investment that we created, I didn't want that to go away. I mean, I like you a little bit sometimes.
Me? You like me?
Yeah.
I thought your second defining moment was what we talked about at the church date night.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Me forgiving you
Mm-hmm.
without you asking. As we see.
You have to keep trying. No matter how tough it gets, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how bad you're down on your luck, because being married, you're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days, you're gonna have worse days, and you're gonna have regretful days. And it's gonna be days that you wish
It's good days.
that you didn't do it. However,
3 kinds of bad days.
yeah, because it's different phases.
Have real good days too, though.
Yeah, I told him that.
You just said real good days.
Alright, but anyway. But no matter what, just know your good days that outweigh the bad ones. And remind yourself of why you took that faith, or why you took that leap and decided to ask that person, or your now spouse, to marry you.